Y'all know what it is. It's that time again. We're talking WNBA fans speak, comments, and reactions. This is Money Mike, and we promised we'd bring it to you just the way you want it done. We're going to get into it of what's going on in the WNBA. I put some questions out there, and everybody's wondering what's really going on, so let's get into it. We're going to go over the comments of everybody that's appreciate it. And again, we thank you. Go ahead and click the like because Money Mike's going to ride the train out. And we're going to get right on into it. We got WNBA fans speak, comments, reactions. And we're going to just let you be the driver. This is for the fans, and this is why we do the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. Gregory, how we doing? Just 41 minutes ago. I have to wonder about your assessment of Becky. She had 5 Olympians on this team this season, plus the league MVP. If I'm not mistaken, they almost had 3 times the number of losses this season they had last season. A good coach has to be a good motivator. I know professional athletes shouldn't have to be motivated to play, but let's be realistic. It's a job to them. It's entertainment to us. A good example, look at Lisa Bluter, what she was able to accomplish at Iowa Eagles and jealousy. Okay, so Gregory, I got you, right? And here's the deal that happens is Becky Hammon, as you know, I like Becky Hammon. I think Becky Hammon is a model of success. Now, good coach, good motivator. Let's look at that, right? Because you go over there with Greg Popovich, okay, you have success, right? First woman coaches the NBA game. Done, right? So then you get over to G League, she wins the G League, right? So then you come over to Vegas and you bounce back, you come back to Vegas, you win 2 titles, right? So you got to understand with Becky, and I don't say the same about Stephanie White because when you get to a stage where you've done it, okay, the voice is only going to resonate so far, right? And so the players and everybody is get to the point where they know the job, they just don't want to do the job, right? And Becky calls them out in the press conference, no problem. Now you got Tyler Marsh. So what does Becky Hammon have? She's pretty much has a coaching tree, right? Because if you come out of her stable, okay, you're gonna be successful, right? And so you found just like synergy between her and Tyler. So now you got to move into the sky, and the sky are in the game. So I mean, that's a great question. I got no problem with it. Okay, here we go. What do we got? Okay, we're going back to the tampering. All right, let's see what we got. To prove tampering, you must have clear evidence that the Fever managed coaxed White to be the head coach while she was still coaching the Suns. The fact is, she was fired, released, let go from the Suns. I think that was the second of 7 coaches. You are right. That's a lot of coaching. The Suns released her for whatever reason. At that time, Stein was still the coach. There was also a clear few weeks or a month before White was named after Sides was fired. Now, I want to question that. I don't think it was a month. I think we might have been just a few days, but a month. I'm a little questionable on that. Now, I don't know the details of coach's contract, but it would seem that there is a release clause somewhere where there would be issues with all 7 teams. So I don't think tampering is on the table unless there are all major investigations going. Personally, I don't think that would happen. It would destroy the league. Yeah, it'd be a bad deal. You can't do that. Now, to your point of favorite for White, maybe there is a mutual benefit. White comes home for the family. Yes, she did. She's a local girl, wants to reconnect, and she stated no less. The Fever had an opening, so it fits. We have no evidence that the Fever fired Size only to get White. Be regardless of depending on what the contracts, it doesn't appear to be legal. You call it personal favor. Yes, I do. Simple fact is the matter is private business. Nepotism is not illegal. I understand you got a collective bargaining agreement. It is a private business, right? So, and what does that mean? You can't really sue the league, right? So it really is it's stated you end up in arbitration, right? If you want to go that far. Will it boost the Fever? That remains to be seen. I believe it'll improve the defense exponentially. Basically, tampering is a bit of a stretch. It can be proven in the instance unless the authorities are breaching privacy laws, tapping the phone lines, spying, man. Okay, that's a good one. I got looking forward to an exciting 2025. Yeah. Well, a lot of things you said, and I mean, it's over. It's water under the bridge. Yes, 7 coaches. I would rather look at 7 coaches being fired than really try to get in and examine. But at the end of the day, here's what here's what you got. Please do. Here's what you got. The Indiana Fever got the coach they wanted, and now it's going to be whether or not Coach White can deliver, and that's just the way the game is played. So we'll see. All right. So I hope Sky does too, right? Well, that is going to be a tough one. The Sky have really escalated. So you look at it, Stephanie White moved over, and everybody said, hey, no problem. Go ahead. We're going to let you go ahead and have Stephanie White, Indiana Fever, Gatorade Player of the Year in Indiana. So it's a hometown cooked meal in Indiana, right? So you got Chicago, they're going out to restaurants, right? So what do? They go all the way down to the Las Vegas restaurant, okay, and they get Tyler Marsh come on in and be the coach, right? He's a player development, right? So you got to look at it. Stephanie White is not a player development coach, right? Stephanie White likes to takes teams when they're already made and says, hey, I'm going to put the cherry on top, right? So the Chicago Sky got great players, need a lot of development. So that's going to be really good. Okay, Stacey is a hater and spreads hate and very deceitful. I'm not sure what Tony is quite saying. Would love to see the big mouth deceiver out of the league permanently. Are you talking about Becky Hammon? We need to stop retreading coaches. The attitude of the league has to be more to change, get rid of coaches is a big part. Size and spoof can't coach their way out of a paper bag. Get rid of all these coaches other than the Dallas coach who can coach and is a nice person too. Okay, so you like somebody. But at the end of the day, here's what happened to Christie sides, in my opinion, right? It's my opinion, and really, I can't turn the truth on this one, so I can't give you any facts because they've both been fired, right? But they both got short ends of the deal. If you think about that, how short of the deal did Witherspoon get? I mean, she got 1 year, right? And Christy Sides, I mean, she wasn't expecting the elephant that showed up in the room to land right on top of her, right? She walked in and she followed instructions from Lynn Dunn. So you got to look at that and say if they followed instructions from Lynn Dunn and the former president resigns, right? That's key number one. Okay, that's the first green light. Next thing you know, Lynn Dunn's out. That's the second green light. So you know you're out because I remember the fact I kept asking the question, what's wrong with Christie Sides? What's wrong with Christie Sides? At the press conference, something else is going on. That was the day I think she was told if you don't get to the second round, and I could be way off on that, but I knew, I mean, if you would have made it to the second round, you had more leverage, right? But if you don't get out of the first round, you did exactly what we did. We don't care if it was from 2016, Christie Sides, first time in the playoffs. We did it, you didn't, right? And I told you all along, Christy Sides got a lot of help with the coaching, right? So she really was being a figurehead, right? And she doesn't really come out and say I was just a figurehead, but that's what she was. And the thing with Becky Hammon, I mean, you got Mark Davis firing everybody, right? The NFL gets on a firing spree, right? You're not even in the end of the season, right? These guys go to cleaning house, and they got to have an interim coach. And they just, I mean, you got to understand the Saints coach been fired, the Raiders coach been fired. My predictions: the Dallas Cowboys coach is going to be fired. I mean, everybody's getting fired, right? So you got to look at that. Then you go to the WNBA, you got 5, 7 coaches getting fired, right? So what do you got there? You got teams today are in the lottery, right? They're going to be in line. They don't even have a coach, right? So at the end of the day, there's things behind the scene that's going on, and it's kind of weird, but this is the way the WNBA does it. Money Mike, why was Stephanie White the Sky's first choice? And why did the Fever hire Christy Sides over Stephanie White? That's interesting. Tyler Marsh for the season, for the 2023 season. Are we crazy, or is the W management just bad at evaluating talent? That's a great question. Now, really, I don't know why I think they didn't hire Stephanie White over Christy Sides. I don't know. She was there. She left. I mean, the history's there. But when you get to the situation that you get two number one draft picks, right? And you also got Alyssa Smith, which nobody likes Alyssa Smith. I proposed a trade. I don't have a problem with the trade. I don't look at what's going on with the personal conflicts. That's what a lot of people do. But you get up to 32 teams right now. I mean, you sign a contract to play basketball, right? You don't sign a contract to have a personal relationship with anybody, right? In the WNBA, that's the way it's been. Now, the more athletes that you get in here and you start recycling players, I mean, I've seen players don't like it. Like, I mean, you got to look at Trent Williams, the 49ers. He punched Richard Sherman in the face, right? But next thing you know, they got to be teammates. So you look at the Shields. This is just my opinion, right? But I'm not there in Indiana. I'm not speaking with the players. I don't know how they feel about the Shields. I only look at the player, and I see a player that's 6'1", okay, and has the size to play as a defender on the 2 or the 3. That's what I see from Diamond to Shields, right? And I look at the Indiana Fever, they need that, right? Well, at the same time, the Chicago Sky could use Melissa Smith. I just wanted to bring it to the standpoint. I'm going to flush it out. that Nelissa Smith, okay, is extremely valuable, right? So we're not going to devalue her. Okay, we're going to leave her value what it is, make the trade, right? Because at the end of the day, here's what the Fever don't want to do. You don't want to just waste time, taking a lot of time. Time goes by when you can make this move immediately, get on with your plans, and you got another player's got a second start at the career, right? We don't want to damage the career. So that's where I see that. But is the W management mad? If the W is going to do what the W does. Okay, Denise Bailey, how you doing tonight? Here we go. I hope the Sky get Christie sides, okay, for assistant coach, and I hope Becky gets Spoon for the assistant coach, right? Because those are two good coaches. I mean, you got to look at it. They just didn't get an opportunity. And here's the deal with Spoon. You got to realize Dwayne Wade, right? Dwayne Wade's on the sideline, right? Once you get the owner sitting in the box chair and he's watching and he's won championships, I mean, they're going to know what they want, right? So this was something when I lived for Jeff, I call him Jeff P, Jeff Pagliaggi. One of the things I noticed when he did a press conference earlier, he really talked about development, right? So Spoon, you got to look at it. Spoon's not going to develop. She's going to teach you, right? But then you got to go do it hands on. That's something that Tyler Marsh, he's got that above everyone else because there's a lot of coaches can't do it, right? Because you can develop a player to get where they need to be. So we'll see. It's to be determined. I mean, you got a Connecticut job with a lot of good players, right? Okay, so here we go. We got Paul Burr. How you doing, big guy? We got trade her, just give her away. She's toxic. All right, so we're talking about Nelissa Smith, right? Well, here's how I look at that, Paul. I got to look at it two ways, right? Because toxic players win championships. I just got to let you guys know. Toxic players, they win championships. An example I gave you was Ron Artest, right? You had Ron Artest and Kobe Bryant. They played on different teams. They didn't really like each other, right? But when it came down to a professional side of it, and this may be different for women. This may never happen. But when they became teammates, okay, Kobe had enough confidence to send that ball to the corner for Ron Artest. Ron Artest drops the three-pointer. They win the championship, right? So whatever happens in the middle of a game, right, to the natural eye, it looks like the players may not get along, right? Well, they shouldn't. They're on opposite teams. But if they actually land on the same team, most of the time professionals. Now, if you're telling me that's not the case in the WNBA, well, then that could be true, but I have to see it. But at the end of the day, you sign a contract to play basketball. You don't sign a contract as a personality contest. But again, that's my opinion, right? So at the end of the day, we can agree that we disagree. No doubt about that. Right? And then you go, neither of them have what fits in with the Indiana culture. Okay, they want players who are team minded and can fit the system they're going to run, right? You know, at the end of the day, that's just the old fashioned way of playing basketball, and it wins championships, right? What Indiana is doing is building a champion, right? And you put Stephanie White behind the wheel of the car, right? So think of it like NASCAR. Think because Caitlin Clark's a Ferrari, right? So you got in there. It's so interesting because you got Boston, right? And then you got Mitchell, right? So they're loaded. And then you got Lexi Hole who's trying to find her way. She's not there yet. I mean, she hasn't. Lexi Hole's a great player for the Indiana Fever, but she's not a two-way player yet, right? And a two-way player's got to play both ends. I mean, we lock up. So you look at Jordan, Kobe, all those guys were two-way, right? They'll take you on the ball and they'll go down and score on you too. They never get tired. So, and that's Aja Wilson's biggest gift is conditioning, right? So you got to look at it. But Indiana wants to build it a different way. It's going to be really, really harder for Indiana to get all the players they want because you don't have that many around of what Indiana's saying. Indiana wants to be a nice, close-knit family. It's us against the world. Whenever we lose, it's never your fault. It's somebody else's fault. I mean, I'm being objective, right? So you got to look at that and say, well, Indiana's got a right to do that, right? And their fans, I tell them don't back up because when Chicago wins, they coming after you. I could guarantee you that, right? All right, so the Lincoln Rail split. What do we got? Don Staley. Okay, attitude towards CC is disappointing. Well, I don't know necessarily. They're competitors, right? Christie sides coach of the year. Really? Yeah, yeah. You don't go make the playoffs since 2016, but you get a chance to get in there. You know how long that is? Okay, 2016 and it's 2024 getting ready. That's 9 years ago, right? 9 years ago was the last time the Indiana Fever been in the playoffs. She's a good coach. She lost her job due to a change in management. She would have coached for at least one more year if it wasn't an appointment of a new president. You're right. right? So, I mean, and they got a president and GM who's also the chief operating officer, which she cares about client image. White is a much better fit for the style of play in Indiana. She will also improve the team's defense. Now, it was diabolical at times. Now, here's the deal: you can't do both, right? You can't do both. Okay, and this is where I was telling people that the numbers are going to go down, right? That you when you do it this way, your numbers are going to go down for Caitlin Clark. And the only reason I say that, folks, and really, is because if you start playing more defense, and that means you're going to be playing possession basketball. But at the end of the day, the way the game is played, defense dictates offense, right? So the Fever defense, you need more size because they don't have the speed, right? So they can't lock up man to man like some teams do, right? They're more or less going to be in a switching, and you're going to have to really move that. And the ball's got to come out of Caitlin's hands. Because here's the deal: either Stephanie White is a genius, because I saw Stephanie White, I saw Connecticut Sun play, right? And I saw Alyssa Thomas is at the top with the ball in her hands, right? So, and she brings the ball up too, right? So, and when other people bring it up, they hand it off to her, and they want her at the top of the circle, right? So, what does that mean? That means everybody else is run off screens, pin down, standards, curls. They got all these different actions that they do, right? So, what does that mean? That means the usage. I always said Caitlin's numbers are going to rank because Caitlin has a lot of usage, right? And usage means the amount of the possessions that you have, how much is time is the ball in her hand. Well, it's in there the majority of times. So that is going to be a contradicting action for Stephanie White because she wants the ball moving with everybody. Why? She's Gatorade Player of the Year. This is the way she taught it at Vanderbilt. This is the way you taught it here. This is how it works for me, right? So that's where I'm saying everybody, unless you think, if you really think, now remember, now they fired Christie Sides, right? Because Caitlin brought the ball up. And what did Caitlin do? This is where I really applaud Caitlin. Caitlin is a shot maker, right? She's not even a really shooter. She's a shot maker, right? Because you put her through a season with no offense, and the shots she made, I don't even know if she could duplicate that, right? Because that the shots that Caitlin made this year, unbelievable. Grace Berger will back up CC22. We don't need anyone from Chicago or Connecticut, period, right? So, all right. So, and we got Victor. Victor, the big time foreman. What's up, Big Big? Here's the deal. All right. So, you got Grace Berger. Now, Grace Berger didn't get any minutes this year, right? So, what are we going to do? We're going to give her more minutes, or how's this going to work? I'm just kind of finding my way. I took a pretty good look at it, and the Fever. I mean, you got to look at it. Fever didn't have a bench, right? The Fever need a bench. Okay, if the Fever going to make a move, they better go out and get a bench. And really, for the 4 or 5 that come off the bench, everybody's got to be able to score, right? Because you can't have people out there and commending after. I mean, gift of having a birth and a child, Katie Lou Samuelson. I mean, I commend you, right? But there was no production that came out of that, right? So you got to have bench players for the Fever to win because I knew when you move Lexi Hole into the starting lineup, that ain't going to work. Now, if a miracle happens and Grace is able to get faster on defense, you can be talking about something. But her foot speed, again, I look at footwork, her foot speed, defensive footwork is not fast enough, and that has to get faster. Okay, so let's go. I think the Fever can do better than the Shields. Okay, that's fair. She was never a great shooter, and her knee remains a risk after missing all of 223. I say offer Lalissa Smith to Connecticut and target whoever Stephanie White thinks is a good value. All right, well, that's an inside track. And Diamond doesn't want Diamond, right? So, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's good insight. I mean, that's a great opinion, right? Right? I'm with you. I give you a like on that. I might have missed these other guys' likes, but I'll go back and get them. But I like that one. I like that one. I can go with that. Okay, you're getting crazy, Money Mike. I'm going to stop watching your channel. What happened to you, right? Guys, at the end of the day, okay, I'm not getting crazy, but I'm going to go ahead and like that because that's a good one too, right? But at the end of the day, here's what you got, okay? Winning championships involves toxic players, right? So you got everybody in this league. As I looked at it, I'm thinking, I just look at photos, right? And I started looking at different shots, which one I like. But I'm starting to see players who played for so many teams. So how do you know who likes who or who doesn't like who, right? Because every one of them, and then you're going to go through expansion again, right? So Now you got the league's going to have more players playing for different teams. So I don't know how you answer that. Man, you might be right. I'm going crazy because when I watched the WNBA, I thought it was all NBA, and I'm finding out it is not all NBA. It's a different game, right? So you got to go along with what the rules are, and that's where it is. Diamond Shields, no one. No one liked my trade idea. Okay, I got you. Maybe I'll come up with a better one. Okay, let me keep working on it. But I know the Fever need a 6-1 guard, right? They need a 6-1 combo because Mitchell, great player, great defender, works hard, does it. But you need to kind of in that second half for change of pace guard. Okay, it's going to be bigger on the defensive end, and that's going to help you. You can't try to take out the cash cow of the league, Caden Clark, and then put the bully on the team. Well, you know what? I tell you what, there's a lot of guys that didn't like each other, won championships together. But in Indiana, for the sake of Indiana, how about I say that? For the sake of Indiana, I'm going to not call it a stupid take. What I'm going to call it is an ill-advised take, right? Because you don't really want to get rid of Melissa Smith that bad. See, so I wanted to test the water and see, okay, how bad does Indiana really want to get rid of Melissa Smith? Or are they holding back and not letting everybody know the truth? But that's a good one. I like that. Okay, Diamond Shashil's not want to go to the Fever as most of the ladies in the WNBA are not interested. Okay, I got you. Why try to make her life miserable? Diamond seems like a very nice person. I'm hoping the best for her, but please not the Fever. Do you know how many times, okay, I had to defend Mitchell Boston Smith Wheeler against feeling racism during the past season, especially when the Fever would lose? They would blame all the ladies and call them everything but a child of God. I got you. It was never anything that Clark did to lose the game. It was bordering on harassment and bullying their own players. Boston even received death threats. I would hate for Diamond to go through that. Okay, so I had to just kind of just think about that. But let's go back. All right, Denise, come on, me and Denise, we're gonna have a conversation. Okay. So, you got the rest of the Fever not interested, right? So I can get that. But here's the deal in professional basketball, you only need 12. You don't need all of the players, right? You only need 12 that are going to say, "Hey, I could do this," right? Why try to make their life miserable? Well, she's a good player, and I think I try to fit the player in an offense. This is part of the scouting, right? This is how if you look at it, what are you gonna do? I can look at each team and try to figure out, okay, what do they need that's gonna fit that bill, right? And this doesn't have to come out of the draft, right? You can go out and see a player. There's like 300 Division 1 colleges, right? So you got a lot of players playing basketball, but you try to fit it in. Now, why try to make her life miserable? I don't want Diamond to be miserable. I want Diamond to be happy, right? But I look at what they're building out there, and my question there is, does the Sky, are they going to keep her or she's going to go somewhere else, right? Because when you start becoming a free agent, you got to find a home. You got to understand these next 24 coming in this draft, they're going to be better than the last 24, right? And the 24 that come in after that, you're going to be better, right? And they keep getting better and better. So the ladies who are in the league now better find a home because if you don't have a home, then you're not going to have a home and it's going to be over, right? And you got Mitchell Boston Smith and Wheeler. Yeah, I mean, but that's part of the game. I mean, you can't not the Lakers can't go see the Celtics while fans just kind of do it. So the fans, but I'm waiting on Chicago. When Chicago heats up and Chicago's going in the title run, I can guarantee you Chicago's going to be just as bad as Indiana. And I'm not going to call Indiana bad fans. This is what I call them. I call them passionate fans. So when the Chicago Stars start winning, it's okay that you be a little passionate too, right? So we're gonna call both of it passion. And right now, the Indiana Fever are enjoying their passion, right? So it may seem like borderline because it was taken over by storm, right? The WNBA had never seen anything like it, where you got a radical fan base. But you start moving into Portland, some of these other cities, they're a little radical too, right? And I don't know how Toronto's going to be, but they're pretty loud there too. Tyler Marsh is an excellent pick for the Chicago Sky. Yes, he is. He's going to take Sky to the next level. Yeah, that one there is going to be a heavy load for the Indiana Fever, right? Because I'm looking at them back and forth. So I gotta look at the Sky. I gotta look at the Fever, and I just tell you, I in my mind, call me crazy. I think Asia Wilson and Jackie Young are coming to Chicago, right? Call me crazy, but that's just what I see. I mean, that's a connection. To think that anyone who attacked Caitlin on the court and invite him to join the Fever sounds ludicrous. Well, yeah, probably so. However, her fans constantly desire and force on the team. Yeah, that's a valuable point right there. Okay, caveat: women don't forget or forgive as easy as men. Yeah, that's true too. So we can't use a male example of how this works. Yep, the run our test. You nailed me. All right, JS, hyphen NK. That's a good one. Decisions of this nature are going to have Caitlin's approval. And at the end of the day, that's the whole caveat, right? Because Caitlin approves everything. Okay, Caitlin can Stephanie White coach you. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, right? Say, Caitlin, how many games next season do you think you play? Well, I think we should play this, right? Because Caitlin's involved in all of this, right? I've never seen anything like this before because with all the partners and investors and everything going, and then on top of that, right? It just gets out of control. The decision is they're going to be Kate's approval. Can't live with it. Be it. If it's her decision to join a rival, which I'd agree with, okay, the league is so jacked up with relational issues. There's no logical solution. Yeah, you know what? That's like who like who shot who did what. Now here's the deal. Here's the deal. I tell you about Unrival, right? Because Unrival, you got to understand something about Unrival, right? Because Unrival, when it first started out, I mean, because the goalposts keep moving, but that's okay because I know they're building the league. I already know they're building the league, but they don't tell anybody they're building the league, right? But anyway, the Unrival started out, well, this was a place for women to play, right? Who didn't have an opportunity or didn't want to go overseas, right? So you got everybody, some people went overseas, but I thought it was for the veterans to come over and continue playing. But now they're reaching back to college, they're reaching back to Paige Bukers. Pretty soon they're gonna be back in high school playing in the Unrival, right? Because at the end of the day, they want to attract players. And I threw it sideways because I said, well, you got Caden Clark and you got Asia Wilson under Nike. So I mean, is that a Nike league over there? Is that an Adidas league? Puma? See, you got to find these things out because normally shoe companies don't let their contracted players go play at other leagues if they're sponsored, okay, by the competition. All right. Are you freaking kidding? Yes. Leave Shields in the dump town. She would disgrace the feud of Buford. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but you got six likes. So here's the deal. At the end of the day, this is professional basketball. Now, we're still calling it a different name, but at the end of the day, it's professional basketball. And I haven't seen personality on an NBA contract, or I don't know, maybe they have it on a WNBA contract. But I haven't seen theirs where a person has a personality clause in their contract, right? So normally you're gonna get a general manager come in there and he starts picking players, whether you like them or not. You better get along because that's the player I brought here. So but in Caitlin's defense, Caitlin has more power than any other players. So she may make a decision. All right, Diamond would not want to go to female slaves or not try to make her life. Okay, so we got that. Hey, Mike, this trade is interesting. All right, that's a good start. It's an open. However, it belies the obvious chemistry issues with these teams and these players, right? Okay. All right, DD football tackled C2. It was one of the several hard fouls. Melissa Smith and Angel Reese have bad blood on the court with them smack talking each other for several times over, right? Team chemistry is so important. Now, okay, I get you. I get you. I get you. But and the chemistry is, but don't be worried about Angel Reese and Melissa Smith because that's LSU and Baylor, right? So you got both of them coming out of Kim Mulkey, and trust me, it gets fiery in the LSU practice, right? It gets fire in the Baylor practice, right? So you got to understand those two may be talking that way to each other, but when it comes time to winning, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Angel Reese is not going to turn down somebody's coming over to help her with her load, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, I want to find out. Here's what I want to find out from the fans. How bad did you want Smith gone? I mean, because you got to ask yourself, do you want them to release Melissa Smith? Because they can do that. I mean, but at the end of the day, I don't think they want to do that, right? All right, never listened to this guy before, but obviously not a Caitlin fan. And that kind of disturbs me because, I am a big time Caitlin fan. I went to saying, "Hey, this is how you can coach her up. This is what you can do." There's a multitude, but like, to get the record straight, I'm a basketball fan. Caitlin Clark plays basketball better at the point guard spot than anybody in the WNBA. I am a Caitlin Clark fan, right? So let's clear that. Not sure really understands basketball. Well, I don't know. What do you want to think about? What, third grade we started playing? I think they gave us a ball and a tall hoop I could never reach, but I've been around there a long time. But you know what? Let's see. CC will only average 10 or 12 points a game. And yeah, I'm giving you guys this ahead of time, right? Because at the end of the day, if Stephanie White is going to let Caitlin Clark do what she did last year, which was being a shot maker, not a scorer, okay, not a shooter, a shot maker, okay, then the Indiana Fever haven't improved, and you can expect the same result, right? They'll do well regular season, they'll get to the playoffs, they'll be gone. So that right there has to change, right? This league has been so dysfunctional for so long. Powers that include now, I'm sure, realize that CC and her team will lead the league forward. Yeah, you're right. And I guess it's all about views. Well, at the end of the day, you know what? I give you a like on that. You know what? You got to here's what you got, Lotus. You got a valid opinion, right? You took your time, you spelled it out. Now, does it convince me? I'm not sure. League's dysfunctional. I'm not sure the league is dysfunctional. They just don't follow all the rules. But all that's going to get cleaned up, right? And where does it start with coaches? So let's fire 7 of them, right? And how many of them are going to get recycled? That's the key number because we only got one. And that's why I said, was this a personal favor? Well, not at the end of the day. That's who they wanted. They can hide. They can do whoever they want, right? At the end of the day, because the Simon family owns the team, and there is no clause to say who you have to hide. Right? Okay, 1143, I disagree. Not a basketball, my basketball IQ is almost 1/16 of 1%. That tells me it's very good, right? I know it's good. I'm an expert on people and behavior. I understand social next race to logistics. Okay. I just LOG. Okay. The problem Chicago has is not related to basketball. The problem Chicago has people are without a moral center. The people on the team are just using each other as means to an end. The team wants all the glory without any faith in work. There's plenty of pride, envy, sloth going over there. Okay. Championship team will not come out of that. You have people rotten to the core on that team. Observation of the team uniforms, that the players are immature in their minds is homeless and humility. There's hubris here. Okay. That's the road Chicago's following vanity. Okay, and the sir. Okay, so what you have here, and I'm gonna apply. You have you have a faith based individual. Okay, let's go back and get the name. So I gotta let him know. Okay, a game amongst games, and he's talking about living a life faith based, being a servant, and that's something that he has a right to do. So I appreciate it. I like what you did, and that's how life works. Okay, we can live with that, right? Okay, Caitlin had a lot of fans in Chicago when they played there. They put her name on banners along the street downtown. Next season's going to be different, is my feeling. Tyler's going to clean up blank, show last season, and put them on track. They're going to be a front. They're going to be a front and a backcourt. Yeah, well, you know what? You're right. I mean, Tyler's going to take this thing to another level, right? Because at the end of the day, he already has the athletes. Now, when he looked at film and saw him, he really just said, "Hey, you know what I can do? Is if I get these guys rolling, they can win, right?" So you got to put him in roles, and he's going to make it entertaining. He's going to listen to what they have to say. I think that's his best quality, right? And any male coach, the number one thing you got to do is listen, right? Because everybody can't do that. I mean, that would be something I struggle with, right? Because I'm thinking so quickly. Sometimes you just want to make the play, but you got to hear what the players saying. And I think that's where he builds great relationships. And the players, he's a player magnet, right? So he's going to bring players to Chicago because they still want to play for him because they just had good season success, right? AR is like to be any better than last year because she lacks athleticism and her work ethic is lacking. Chicago roster will need major upgrades, right? Yeah, you're right. You're right. And and it starts with the coach, right? So they even the playing field between the two of them. That's Stephanie White, right? And you got Tyler going to be up in Chicago. So they even the playing field. Now, what has to happen? Let's see what the results are, David. Because David, you're right on the spot. I don't take anything away from that. All right, I'm gonna get educated. Okay, Miss Denise. So let me educate you, newbie to basketball. Right? I like that. I like that. That's coming with fire. Reese been getting double doubles constantly since high school. There's nothing new and won't ever change. Reese is very athletic for big, as we can clearly see. However, does that rod in her from her leg from a terrible bad accident make her run a little funny? Yes. Okay, so looks like she knows. The Twin Towers, Reese Cordova is the best front court in the WNBA. Do they have need some upgrades to help Twin Towers, absolutely. Sky has Kennedy, but they also have 2 first-round picks, and they have plenty of money for free agents. I like that. Plenty of room for upgrades. Tyler Marsh is a great selection and will coach taking the Sky to the next level. You know nothing about Reese's work ethic. Okay, all right. So, you know what? And Denise, I'm gonna tell you right. Right? We don't know really how this one's gonna turn out. Now, but Money Mike does. I already know how it's gonna turn out because I already see how the plan. I already know who's involved, right? So Reese's gonna come back just a different player, right? And everybody laughs, well, Reese can't dribble the ball. Angel Reese can dribble the ball. Angel Reese can handle the ball, right? But here's what happens, and it's probably happened more than enough in women's basketball, and you really don't see it as much in men's basketball. But we're not talking about men; we're talking about women, right? So at the end of the day, Angel Reese has just been stuck in the post because she's been the tallest player, right? So that's where it all started for Angel Reese. Okay, you're the tallest player, you're gonna play post, right? But you got that post player or that four who's really a tweener. She's really between a three and a four, itching to play the guard and can shoot jumpers, right? You just got to green light it. And that's what Tyler's job is. So here's the deal. That's why I said, you know what? Nalissa Smith makes a great, trade over there to Chicago because it pushes Angel Reese out of that four spot. You don't want any player. That's like Anthony Davis, right? Anthony Davis is really a tweener, right? He's a three and a four, right? But he's got to go in there and give up so much weight, right? And that's what Angel Reese is doing. She's just giving up weight, right? And she's got to be in there with the bigger bodies. And so at the end of the day, I mean, that's tough, right? So you got her and Cardoso. I think Cardoso's going to play big like Shaq, right? They're going to open that up. Shaq's going to teach her how to get big, seal it up, and they'll do the entry passes. And she'll have a couple counter moves, right? And once she gets the counter moves, Cardoso's just going to be too much for anybody, right? I mean, really tough, right? And time will tell which of us is right. Yep. I mean, you know what? And both of you guys are right, right? You're both of you right. All right. Hey, Ben, Scotland, what's going on? I never really thought of people directly pairing the progress of the Sky to the Fever going for it. But you make good points with the new coaching staff. The teams were really neck and neck. Yes, they were standing till the Sky imploded. Yep, the Sky had a meltdown, right? That probably what cost Spoon the job. I mean, you can't go around at the end of the season saying I'm going to follow a game plan, but you're on the seventh straight loss, right? You got to fix that. You got to turn that around. If you can't turn it around, why go into another year turning around? And I think that's where D Wade and Shaq, they're sitting there, and you got Jeff P there. I mean, because really, why make Dwayne Wade a owner, right? Because he's going to understand basketball operations and he knows what the pieces he needs, right? So he's all about let's get the right pieces, then let's go play, right? So, but I can see the fans consider it an added feature. They're already being looked at. It's a rivalry, man. I mean, you got, like I said, go to Illinois Indiana game, you'll see it. You'll see it, which is common in Europe football. Yeah, they're gonna rival that out, right? Well, neck and neck, and then it wasn't close at all. Reese quit on the Sky. Well, she got injured, but Sky just had a meltdown, couldn't figure it out. That cost Aretha Witherspoon her job, right? All right, here we go. Reese got hurt. She didn't quit. Okay, Tyler Marsh is on the board. Yeah, that's a good play. Sky got 2 first round. Yep, I saw that one earlier. Okay. Are we seriously going to speak about the rules of the WNBA? Well, here's the deal. Okay, Washington, you lover. Okay, here's the deal. As the league grows, you gotta have some rules, folks. You gotta have some rules, and this thing could really get out of control. Now, did it go on? Yeah, it happened, right? And is Kathy Engelbert gonna find anybody? No, because nobody makes any money, right? I told you that earlier. I mean, if the NBA were given a technical foul, what are they gonna charge a player? $500, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're only making like 70,000 by the time you take the tax out here. I mean, it's not a good thing, right? But at some point, you're going to have to put discipline in the league, right? I mean, you can't go a whole year. Nobody puts any money in the kitty jar, right? W showing unprepared for prime time. Kelly, Amber, Stephanie, and now Tyler. Boomerangs, rebounds, and recycles are all burdened by what has been. New blood needed from college, men's college, Europe, and NBA. Yeah, and you do. I mean, you got to look at it and say, hey, you know what? What do the fans want in the WNBA? They want the game to get better, right? And what do the fans want to see? They want to see 40 to 45, if not 50% shooting outside the 3-point line, right? That is flat out. That's why I brought out the four for I don't know, it was a ridiculous number, like 4 for 25 in game five, right? And that goes into my premise. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me, okay? Because you got, you know what? I mean, you got new blood, right? He's talking about new blood, right? So you need that new blood of development to get those ladies to be able to hit 40% from three. I mean, you gotta teach that. And really, you just gotta go get it because now you gotta see if you can find it because in college, that's not a big number. I mean, they shoot the ball really well. And, the ladies gotta do it their way. I'll tell you, with men, we cut corners, right? That's our specialty. With women, they want to go through the whole process, right? So they're not gonna get there as fast as you, but they're pretty smart at it, right? All right, so what do you got? Be Quiet, he's a legend. You talking about Barbie? Love him. Okay, all right. So there we go. We made it through. And yes, Clark's numbers are down. There's no doubt. And personal favor, yeah. You know what? We're gonna close it up right there. But here's where I want to go with that to Stephanie White. I want everybody to have a clear understanding, right? Because at the end of the day, if the league is going to grow and be successful, right? Then at the end of the day, you got to really just follow the rules, right? But you got to know what the rules are. So, is it a major step? No, everybody really got their guy. Now I'm stuck on this homegrown, and I'm going to throw something at you tomorrow. I'm going to tell you in advance. So when you tune in tomorrow, I'm going to talk about reorganization of the draft, right? Because I'm watching this blueprint that Indiana's doing, right? And I'm trying to come up with what we call a first right of refusal on a draft pick, right? Because at the end of the day, you got two players, right, that stayed home, right? Or two players, or meaning a player and a coach. You got Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark who have stayed home. But the WNBA, it's growing, and it's growing by a mile. Now, how do you fix it? How do you change it around? I don't know. But here's what I tell ya: all things are possible to those who believe. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We just competed comments, reaction, WNBA fans speak. And we always going to tell you each and every day, we're going to go and get a little better so you can go a little bit higher. We'll see you soon. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast.